Hey, how many keys are there?
How many keys are there? Say it. 12. Good answer, but wrong. What's the answer? 24 is logical, more logical than 12 because there's majors and minors. So we would double it. Makes sense, right? Still wrong. Okay?
Okay, before we go any further, let's do a brief breakdown of how keys work, and then we'll go crazy. First, what Victor Wooten
I'm Victor Wooten.
is talking about here is a little bit simplified. We're not talking about modes or harmonic minor or any of that because those aren't really keys. We're just talking about the number of regular, major, and minor scales, and we'll just focus on major for now. You might remember from music class learning the order of the flats: bead, G, C, F. Every time we add a flat, we get a new major scale. We start with C major with no flats. We add a B flat, get the key of F. E flat to make B flat. A flat makes the key of E flat, and so on. Similarly, we have the order of the sharps. Fat cats go down alleys eating birds. And they work the same way. Start on C, add F sharp to make G, add C sharp to get D, and so on. What you might not have noticed is these orders are the same, just reversed, and they contain all 7 letters from A to G, all the white keys on a piano. So, how many keys are there? Well, if we can add 7 flats to make 7 flat scales, and 7 sharps to make 7 sharp scales, and we have one scale with no flats or sharps, C major, that gives us a total of 15 total scales, not 12. Each of them has a major and a minor key, so that gives us a grand total of 30.
30 is the answer.
Okay, so we found the answer he was looking for. But if there's 15 major keys and only 12 keys on the piano, we must be duplicating some. And indeed, that's what we're doing. If we build the scale with 6 flats, we get G flat major, 6 sharps, and we get F sharp major. But on the piano, all these notes are exactly the same. These scales are enharmonic of one another. They contain the same notes and they sound the same. 7 flats makes C flat major, which is the same as B major, and 7 sharps makes C sharp major, which is the same as D flat major. So we have 15 major scales, but 3 sets of identical enharmonic scales. This is why if you look at most diagrams of the circle of fifths, these 3 at the bottom have 2 keys.
We can have a major key with 1 flat. We can have a major key with 2 flats. Up to how many flats? 7. So we have 7 flat keys.
But wait, why? What if we wanted to add an 8th flat? What would that look like? Well, to do that, we'd first need to know what flat to add next. We're out of letters in our bead G, C, F. The good news is this order isn't random. It's just the circle of fifths. Look here, if we start on B and go counterclockwise, B, E, A, D, G, C, F. So if we want to know what flat to add next, we just need to go one more notch in the circle. To see, we need a B flat, flat, a B double flat. Quickly, a B double flat is exactly what it sounds like. You take a B, you flat it once, you flat it twice. B double flat is the same tone as A. So what would that look like? Well, we start at C and we add the 7 flats we already know to reach C flat major. We take our B flat and we flatten it again. Now look at this. This shape is the same as E major, but it's not E major. Our E has already been flattened. This is F flat major, which is enharmonic to E. Let's note that on our circle of fifths and do another. Moving one more over, our next flat should be an E flat flat. And look, this is A major, but it's not A major, it's B double flat. Notice that as we add a flat, the scale we're making also moves one notch counterclockwise on the circle of fifths. Next is A flat flat. This gives us the key of E double flat, which is enharmonic to D. I could do this all day. Flatting D flat gives us A double flat, and then flatting G flat brings us back to all white keys again. But now we're looking at D double flat major. We've gone all the way around and built a scale with 12 flats that is enharmonic to C. Can we keep going? Of course we can. Our next flat is over here, but B has already been flattened. We don't have a B natural 2 flat, so we move to the next one on the list and flatten C flat. And now here's F major again, but now it's G double flat. One more. We can't flatten E, so we flatten F flat, bringing us to C double flat major. We can do this as long as we want. There's absolutely no limit to the amount of flats we can add, which means that every major scale has an infinite number of enharmonic scales. And that's only from the flat side. We can do exactly the same from the sharp side, which means we could represent any scale in an infinite number of ways using either sharps or flats. And this brings me to my point. Why would we only count these 3 duplicates? If enharmonic keys should count, then the answer shouldn't be 30, but infinite keys. But obviously that's a bit silly and not very useful, so we need some way to pick which of the infinite representations to use for a certain scale. And it's a really simple answer. It's just the one with the least accidentals, the simplest one. And that's what we do in every case except these. A flat major could absolutely be represented with 8 sharps, but why would we do that when we could only use 4 flats? So these guys don't make any sense. Why do we even entertain the idea that they could be either or? Unless you're Hackerman, there's no good reason to write anything in C sharp. There's just no good reason to do it. The only thing you're doing is adding complexity for your musicians. And why would you want to do that? Go simple or go home. As far as I'm concerned, the only one that deserves its duality is F sharp G flat, because it's exactly in the middle. 6 sharps, 6 flats. You can approach it from either... What? They just want to know what a scale with infinite flats would look like? Alright, we can do that. This is some dangerous science. Better put on my goggles. Now recall that each flat we add moves us 1 notch around the circle. The circle contains all 12 notes, so every time we go around, we flatten all of them once. If we add infinite flats, then we go around the circle an infinite number of times. And then each note in the scale will have itself been flattened an infinite number of times. Now of course, every time we flatten a note, it moves down 1 semitone. So every note will have been dropped an infinite number of semitones. And that's pretty weird. Normally scales are transposable, which means you can play them in any octave you like. And in fact, this is true for a scale with any finite number of flats. Even if we add a ridiculous number of them, there's still some limit to how low it goes, and we can just transpose it up to a usable range. Which means I can tell you that a scale with 365,489,074 flats is enharmonic to the key of D. But everything breaks as soon as we go to infinity. It doesn't matter how much you try to transpose things upwards. It will always be transposed downwards an infinite number of half steps. So every note in the scale would end up being the lowest possible note. And what is that? Well, remember that a note is a real waveform wiggling through the air, and its pitch is determined by how fast it wiggles up and down. As the pitch of our note lowers, our wave stretches out. So imagine if you were to stretch it out to infinity. What do you get? It's just a straight line, 0 hertz. Every note in our scale has a frequency of 0 hertz. So without further ado, I'd like to perform for you my rendition of the B infinite flat minor scale. Thank you. What a lot of people don't know is John Cage was actually the first person to do this. 433 was famously written in G infinite flat major. So let's ask this one more time. How many keys are there? Well, considering F sharp and G flat are equally as valid because they both have the same amount of accidentals and can be approached from either side, it's probably very valuable to be practicing and reading both. But I just can't accept that C sharp is as valuable as D flat, or C flat is as valuable as B. And look, someone in a comment is going to give me the long explanation of why this is the case, why we count these scales. I have never heard an explanation that I find compelling. I've thought about this a long time. Nah, don't care. You're not gonna get me this time. So my argument is there are 13 major scales, with F sharp and G flat being the duplicate. Since each of these have a major and a minor, that gives us a grand total of 26 keys. That is the best answer, in my opinion. But if there's one thing we know...
One is not a good answer.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you got something out of it. These are the kind of videos I make. And if you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more. If you like this kind of technical nonsense, you're going to love what I have in store for this channel. My name is Braden Holmes. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Fat cats go down alleys eating birds. 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 Fat cats go down alleys